Hi everyone, my name is Neha and I work on the marketing team here at Aviso. As I'm sure you're all explicitly aware of, the coronavirus pandemic has been changing our lives for nearly 9 months now. And given that we're emerging into the midst of a pretty heavy wave 3, it doesn't seem like this is a problem that's going to be resolved anytime soon. We've all been impacted in ways that we probably never expected to be, and for an even longer duration than we have initially hoped for. But the reality is that this is now our new normal. With this in mind, my team here at Aviso and I were curious about the impacts of one of the biggest shifts that the pandemic has brought upon corporations: virtual work. Much of corporate America, as well as many businesses worldwide, have been working remotely for the majority of 2020. This has really been an unprecedented shift for both employees and employers, and has brought about many a challenge as a result. As go-to-market professionals ourselves, we were especially curious to understand the impacts of virtual work on the field of sales. This is because sales is so largely driven by in-person interactions and key in-person relationship building. So in order to understand this shift to virtual selling thoroughly, we turned to sales teams themselves. We conducted a survey of the 6 key personas of a typical revenue team, all the way from sales reps and sales ops to chief revenue officers. Today, I'm joined on this panel by my teammates, Michael, Jennifer, Kimberly, and Amit, and they'll be sharing with you some of the insights that they gathered based on the results of our State of Virtual Selling 2020 report, as well as some big takeaways that every member of a revenue team should know about in this new era of virtual selling. With that, I will hand the mic over to Michael.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael, and I was going to be talking about the personas I researched. And I reached out to sales reps and sales operations professionals across the country from several industries to ask them about the challenges that they face when adapting to virtual selling. And their responses were pretty intriguing, but also understandable when faced with an abrupt shift to the way you interact and build relationships with people. So I just want to start here with this stat that we found from our research. So did you know that 78% of sales reps feel that having a guided selling platform would help them meet their quota? And the majority of reps out there, they're struggling with opportunity management, and especially in a digital battleground. So they feel that having an AI guidance would be beneficial for the pipeline, since they're now missing out on those certain cues and insights, without the in-person, face-to-face interactions. And also our research here shows that using CRM tools is also a pain point for reps. This makes sense because when you're going, through endless lists of opportunities, you really have no clue which ones are, more likely to close or which ones are at risk, thus making it harder to manage those opportunities. So having AI to kind of consume all your data and give you a better map of your opportunities, that would be very helpful for them. And as far as sales operations goes, their biggest challenge was not necessarily due to virtual selling, but instead it's having an accurate forecast to rely on and plan around. Not to mention COVID's economic impact, just turning everything upside down for them. It's also making these forecasts is very time consuming. And, when you're doing so on spreadsheets, accuracy is a concern. And when you spend all that time making these spreadsheets and the numbers are way off in the end, all that time becomes wasted. So, speaking of time, that's another pain point for sales operations. It's, they deal with so much CRM data entry. It takes away from other significant projects that they can be working on. So, it's important to have accurate, up-to-date information, but you don't want to, lose the time spent on more significant projects. So now we're going to have Jennifer speak on the sales managers and VPs of sales and the research that she found from that.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Jennifer, and for this project, I reached out to sales managers and VPs to get their perspective on how they've been impacted by the shift to remote selling. So these two personas are uniquely tasked with the challenge of balancing team leadership and sales strategy, with responsibilities ranging from hiring and coaching reps to setting revenue goals to engaging in opportunity and risk forecasting. So with work from home and social distancing ordinances, communication to and between team members becomes a lot more difficult. And so our report illuminates some of these surprising patterns. Here are some of the trends we've discovered. For one, over 2/3 of sales managers and 55% of VPs report being negatively impacted by the shift to virtual selling, which is something that aligns with our expectations. More significantly, however, the responsibility that managers and VPs both report struggling with the most is not necessarily creating pipeline or maintaining clients, but specifically fostering and maintaining team morale, a challenge that has likely surfaced as a result of the various stressors of this year. Nevertheless, respondents are also still reporting that their traditional pain points are still persisting. So things like administrative tasks, tool sprawl, and accurate forecasting, in addition to maintaining team morale. Respondents are reporting spending an average of 9 to 13 hours per week addressing these responsibilities, which is over a full workday. And next off, I'm gonna let Kimberly have the mic.
Thanks, Jennifer. So hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly, and my focus for this report was geared towards the C-level executives, which included the Chief Financial Officer and Chief Revenue Officer. As a basis for my questions, I wanted to first gain an overarching understanding of how work from home and virtual selling has really impacted revenue goals and internal levels of communication. So starting with the CROs, 75% of our respondents are finding it difficult to break down organizational silos across their teams during remote work. However, looking on the bright side of things, these same respondents are actively seeking new strategies to maintain ongoing communication, both internally and externally in the virtual selling that we find ourselves in today. According to our research, 75% of CROs are also adjusting their goals, recruiting efforts, investments, and other strategies to help combat the obstacles that they're facing during these trying times. Lastly, 75% of respondents are looking to leverage AI tools to assist them in their daily work functions as a chief revenue officer. As for the CFOs, our research shows that managing rising IT costs and upgrades have been the area most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Our respondents also ranked the importance of automated technology as an 8 on a 1 to 10 scale as something that really contributes to the overall effectiveness and efficiency of their work. With that being said, we'll now switch gears and circle back to Neha to discuss some key takeaways from our research and how these insights really apply to the workplace and to the specific functions of sales teams and leaders that we just discussed.
Awesome. Yeah, so now that we've covered the insights and the actual results from our State of Virtual Selling 2020 report, I kind of want to go back to Michael, Jennifer, and Kimberly and have them discuss what exactly sales teams and revenue teams can do with this information and these insights that we've gathered, and how they can really start to turn the tide for themselves during this difficult time for everyone, and really embrace digital transformation to overcome challenges that virtual selling has posed for corporations and businesses during this time. Michael, back to you.
Thanks, Neha. Yeah, so it looks like, with the shift to virtual selling being here to stay for the long run, sales reps are, they're going to need some sort of guidance to navigate this new digital battleground. And in order to keep revenue flowing, reps can benefit from AI's ability to process massive amounts of data, to generate insights, tips, and generate reports, for sales teams so that they can have a clear picture of what opportunities to focus on. And for the sales operations, it's a no-brainer. The unmatched accuracy of AI's, ability to give them the forecast that the company can rely on, and at the same time saving them all the time that it takes to create that. It's a perfect match. And if you're making forecasts with spreadsheets and struggling to come up with realistic numbers to set quotas on, please, do yourself a favor and look into what AI can do for you. And Jennifer, you can go ahead and take away your key points there.
Right, okay. So what the findings on the sales managers and VPs suggests is a need for a more comprehensive sales tool that both unites and augments sales activities and communication across all hierarchies. So the good news is that our research is also showing that teams are indicating that they're willing to embrace data-driven sales guidance led by AI, which is something that can really help facilitate easier communication, advanced sales coaching for managers, objective revenue forecasting for VPs, alongside a bunch of other features. And according to the research, sales teams are settling into the new normal of virtual selling, which seems here to stay at least for the foreseeable future. By adopting a sales process rooted in data-driven guided selling, sales managers and VPs have the incredible potential to address their pain points, ramp up efficiency, and overall just drive revenue. And next off, we have Kimberly.
Awesome. So by merging all the insights that I mentioned previously and analyzing it through the lens of AI-guided selling, CFOs can find a really great opportunity in cutting their CRM and other sales license costs with automated technology. Moreover, both CROs and CFOs can really leverage guided forecasting and pipeline growth to accelerate revenue generation and further tackle challenges of work from home with guided collaboration and sales coaching tools. So with all that being said, I'll hand it off now to Amit to tie all these insights together.
Thanks, Kimberly, Jennifer, Michael, and Neha. This has been a very illuminating study, and especially as the first study of its kind that's been done around just virtual selling. I think we have uncovered a lot that can help teams right now. What I'm going to focus on is three things. One, what I've heard from you and what we've seen in the report that's happening at a macro level, what's happening at the level of sales and revenue. And then finally, with a lot of what you covered around AI, how can companies and buyers make the right choices on what kind of AI platform can be the best companion for them? So first, let's just talk about the macro. The three things that I heard across all the personas that you covered is everyone wants to do more, but they're being asked to do more with less. There's less time, less resources, and less certainty than ever before. We're also finding that all the roles are having to build new bridges that didn't exist before. So things that were normal for us in an actual office environment have become a little less normal. And in this new normal, we have to build new virtual bridges with team members that could be in any time zone and any geography. And this is putting a lot of pressure on everybody. And then third, there seems to be near unanimous agreement that automation and artificial intelligence is here to help and can help. That's really what I'm seeing from a macro perspective. Now, from a sales perspective, let's talk about the impact on people, on tools, and on process. So from a people perspective, it's clear that outside of all the responsibilities that we had, we have this additional responsibility that I would best describe as sense making. We have to make sense of our own work in this uncertainty, how to help the people around us. And, with this kind of environment, it is more important than ever before in the sales process for everyone to embrace extreme collaboration. What I mean by extreme collaboration is thinking less about a Monday morning forecast call and thinking more about a 24/7 virtual approach to always having teams connected. From a tools perspective, it's becoming clear now that more and more single point tools aren't really helping. In fact, in many ways, they've just become, like, our phones, where the majority of apps aren't actually getting used. And one trend that we're finding in our research from what you've all covered is the desire for simpler tools and all-in-one tools, ideally even workspaces, which bring a lot of tools together. And then finally, from a process perspective, I think this is the golden decade, if you will, for sales processes to be reinvented. Because if you think about it, we're at the 20-year anniversary this year of the original no software movement. Salesforce as a CRM was brought into the world with the no software movement exactly 20 years ago. And while we've seen enough progress in the last 20 years on revenue and sales processes, the next 10 years, especially with virtual selling, may make us reimagine these processes. So how can AI help? I'll leave you with three things that you should consider as you take your company down the path of helping your own teams with the power of AI. The first thing you want to look at is AI that helps everybody. Your modern revenue team is not just your sales reps or your marketing team, it's your customer success team, your sales engineers, and everyone else that supports the quarterback of the sales team, if you will. And so it's important to have AI that produces insights and actions for everybody in the team, from the CFO and the CRO all the way to the rep. That came across in our study. The second thing that's important is to collect as many signals as possible. So don't just think about your CRM, think about where all the actual action happens, emails, calendar, and even thinking about all of the available information we have now with public information on the internet through public data sources. If your AI platform can bring in more signals than some other AI platform, you're actually just going to get better insights and results. And then finally, make sure that your AI platform is using the most advanced algorithms, because if you're collecting all this data, but you're applying really simple, weighted averages and basic statistical method, it's not going to be enough. The cutting edge of the field is auto machine learning, where the idea is that you don't make any assumptions about, which part of your data is important. You let the AI decide that for you. So I'd just bring this all together and say that in this time of the most unprecedented volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity that we've seen in a long time, there is an opportunity to reimagine the way we engage with our sales teams and our sales process. And AI can help you make sure you do an exhaustive search and apply the right AI so that you're not just prepared for virtual selling today, but for the rest of this decade. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Neha.
Thank you, Amit, for that insightful conclusion. And I just want to wrap it up by saying thank you all for joining our research panel today. And everyone who's watching, be sure to download our State of Virtual Selling 2020 report. The link will be attached to this YouTube channel, so be sure to check it out, and thanks again.